saying we're live?
Yeah! That
Fuck!
was fucking stupid.
Alright, guys, let me explain. We were trying to go live for quite a while. And it was not
Exactly
happening.
44 minutes.
Yeah, today is the day of computer bullshit for both of us. I was fighting a virus Trojan malware war that, I mean, admittedly, it was my fault.
Hold on.
Like 2 hours.
I'm gonna let you finish, but you just said Trojan.
Oh, yeah. Is it Trojan?
Yeah.
Trojan. I didn't think about it.
Fragrance
I'm just
by
used
Anton.
to it. It is.
Oh, is that a giant spider on my ceiling? Hold on. Keep talking. Tell them what happened. I'm gonna investigate.
Alright, yeah, so I had a problem some time ago, and I had like a huge malware attack on me, and it was aggressive as shit. I couldn't do anything, couldn't go online. I did the thing in the movies where hackers like just plug everything out immediately. I went offline, and I was trying to...
Aww.
See, this is what I gotta work with. This guy thinks a ladybug is a spider. Yeah, so I spent 2 hours of my life trying to save my computer and all my files from a crazy malware attack. Had to go, like... Did you know that it's impossible to go into safe mode on Windows 10? I did not. Now I know how. It's fucking stupid. But it's all good now. I saved it. And now we have Ben here, who couldn't go live and record the podcast somehow, for some reason. I still don't understand why, but something stupid, I bet. I'm sure he would tell us. Alright. So, yeah, so we decided to go record another episode of this. This episode of stuff where we just kind of hang out, talk ourselves out about bullshit because we're just bored. And try to make sense of it all.
Okay, I'm back.
Alright, I'm gonna be working on my Inktober, so we're doing this.
It
Good
was
things
not a
aside,
spider,
don't
it was a
have to.
giant ladybug.
Yeah, I heard. We all heard.
Oh. Yeah, okay. That's good.
So what I was gonna say, what I wanted to ask you was, Bryn, tell me,
Uh-oh. Our stream.
did you have a goth? Did you have a goth face?
Kind of, but it was sort of mall goth.
Explain that to me, because as a person who grew up in an environment where there is no such thing, where you go to a shop conveniently that has all the goth shit, and you just buy it there.
Hot Topsky.
Yeah, there's no Hot Topic in Russia. Well, I'm sure maybe there is now, but when I was growing up, it was not a thing. You can't just go to a shop that's like all like edgy and you buy shit.
Yeah, I was like
so,
I was like the Hot Topic goth mixed with like weeaboo stuff. So
first of all, how long was your goth quote unquote goth period?
Say from about 7th grade to maybe freshman year of high school, sophomore year of high school.
Alright, question
So,
2.
a few years, yeah.
Okay, question 2. What did you listen to?
Well, since I just explained it was a mix of mall goth and weeaboo, a fuck ton of J-metal.
So,
And then...
yeah, go on.
Dead Man was also a big one, and Bucktick, but I still listen to them because they're actually good, both of those bands. And then, I didn't start listening to like actual goth stuff like Bauhaus and The Cure and all that until I couldn't rightfully like be like, oh, I'm so goth anymore, you know. They were definitely a later thing. Cradle of Filth, crap like that.
All right, that's actually close to goth. So I was like asking like, what goth part of goth was your goth?
Mm-hmm.
Like where was the goth part? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I get the mix with the mix with the weeaboo, but you know, like where is the goth part?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm screen sharing.
So your goth was not really goth. What makes you say that it was a goth phase? Then the Hot Topic.
Yeah, the Hot Topic mixed with the I'm so deep, I'm suffering inside, and then what else?
All right. Tell us more about the attitude.
The eye makeup and stuff,
Well,
which I stopped
I've never
wearing
seen
like right when I
makeup.
started actually getting kind of decent at it. I stopped wearing makeup.
Nah, that must be interesting.
Yeah.
Still want to see you in makeup.
It was a lot of like. Not to
How did you behave?
I wrote just the worst poetry. All the time. Yeah. Oh.
Poetry, eh?
Oh.
Was that your goth part?
Not just poetry. Bad poetry. Someone's watching right now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hello.
We
Enjoy.
have a watcher. Yeah.
So,
and our stream health is yellow, so we might sound like we're coming through a drive-through speaker. So that's good.
all right. So, question that I have for you is, what in your life made you so deep and so sad?
Nothing.
Okay,
I mean, this
good.
was before
So
I even
how-
had like an actual meaningful like romantic relationship that had gone sour. Like I literally didn't have much of anything. Oh, actually, I guess
So
I had some
the
shit
one-
going on with like my family in regards to my brother because he was being a fucking idiot. But
It sounds
aside
like
from
a
that-
fascinating story.
I'm gonna condense it down into the most ridiculous part. He stole thousands of dollars from my parents to buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
I have no words. Tell me more.
Exactly. And then
How? Can
like-
you elaborate on the word stole?
like my parents
Was this like a
suspected he
dastardly
was
crime kind of thing? Or
Yeah, my parents suspected he was doing something, so they started like locking up their credit cards and stuff in like a safe in the house. And then somehow he managed to get a hold of a key and like opened the safe, got the cards, and bought a bunch of. Well, first he skipped out. He didn't, because this was back when he still played music. He didn't go to a concert he was supposed to perform in and was registered in a class 4. And instead he took the cards, went and bought a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and like played in a tournament or something.
So wait, so the question is, was he like in a like a gambling addiction kind of situation?
Yeah, I think it was something like that, and it does seem like it was one of those like weird, deep, take hold of you out of nowhere things. Because like he looks at it now and he's kind of bewildered about it, but Anyway,
That's
so
interesting.
because of that, not my dad.
Right, you're a goth.
Yeah, not so much my dad, but my mom definitely started treating me differently, I guess. Like she was worried I would go down the same path or something.
Your mom has a terrible judgment sometimes.
Sometimes.
I don't want to be
Let's
rude.
not get into that right now, actually. Oh boy.
I just think about the video games part, really.
Yeah.
That's all I'm thinking about, honestly.
I love my mom, and I know she really tried, but oh my god.
Who
Some
doesn't?
of the things she does, you just have to be like, what were you... Really?
Now that said, hello, Ben's mom. Hello, Susan.
Hello, R1 watcher.
Dropping by. Yeah, thanks for dropping by and listening. We appreciate it.
Oh boy.
Beautiful. See, because my goth phase was interesting, and I really liked experiencing it because it was very weird to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it lasted a week. See, that's what I was wondering about. Like, how did that nothing became a goth phase for 2 years? So, like, if you're just saying that you just got into the general like,
I think that's
edgy part.
I think that's the big part of what happened. Well, I mean, also think about it this way, like we already talked about, not on the podcast, just in general life, about how what got me kickstarted into like the metal scene and the darker music subculture in general was watching that fucking Alice Cooper episode of The Muppet Show.
Oh, right.
So I think there was just something that, for whatever reason, drew me into that sort of
Yeah, it's
aesthetic.
interesting to see. See, I remember that moment. There was a moment specifically, like, because I was like in a class with a girl in like grade 1, and for some reason she just remembered me and I remembered her. She's just like, you just remember kids, you know, for some reason. Like, you meet people and you remember them. Weird, right? And but we're not like friends or interacted anyway. We just kind of remembered each other. And years later, in like when we changed schools, well, it's complicated to explain, but we didn't actually change schools. But so like in grade 6, which is like middle school now, she saw me, and that was when I had like longer hair and was like all into the metal scene, and she's like, "That's that guy," and she was baffled because not that I like grew up. That happens to everybody, but the change of like it was this kid who was just kind of like funny and into video games and shit, and then now he's like the dark blood of the demons. Like, what? Yeah, like, you know, and that's the like she was really not believing that I was that guy, which I found kind of. I wore that like a badge of honor, but
yeah,
that's like I shouldn't. But what I was gonna say is like my period of being a goth, quote unquote, did not change in any way with the like clothing. It just went straight into music, and I listened to Lacrimosa and Sopra Eternus, and that was like true goth music, you know, man. And by which I mean not like the actual goth music, like The Cure, but like goth as it's seen like outside of America where it was born, which is like, well, the whole Victorian like sadness kind of shit, depression. So yeah, and you listen to like
The Cure and Bauhaus are both British.
Oh, right. Yeah, except I did not know that, so good job on me knowing nothing. But yeah, but what I meant, like, I had nobody knows that part of goth music, and it just goes straight for like the popular things, like Him, right? Like, yeah, that's the band Him for like mostly girls, or like Cradle of Filth if you're like me, and you're like a metal guy. So that's like the only kind of like you get a little bit into that. And then, like, from there, you get to, like, Lacrimosa or something, right? But if you listen to, like, the first albums of Lacrimosa, which is what I did, I didn't get it at that time because I was a metal guy. So I was like, what is this? I don't get it, right?
Yeah.
And, but their later albums are more metal. They're, like, metal goth, like Nightwish kind of thing.
Yeah.
More so on the sad part and less on the operatic, actually good music part. And, but their earlier albums is what made them a goth band, because it's not metal, it's not even rock, it's just like, it's very goth. It's very, very goth. It's just like, there's like one song that I remember, and it's like that beeping sound of like a heart on like a life support,
Mm-hmm.
and it has like some lyrics in German that's very goth sounding, like you know, like the suicide depressive black metal, but it's
Yeah.
actually depressing. It's actually depressing because it doesn't have black metal in the background and makes it sound stupid.
Well, I mean, some suicidal, depressive black metal does sound genuinely, like, really sad, but,
After you get over the
well,
the
it's
thing you
usually the
mean?
stuff that's more, like, ambient, because, the stuff that tries
Oh,
to be
yeah,
more
so-
hardcore, like, unless it's Shining. I would say Shining is one of the really good examples of a more heavy, but still pretty bleak, depressive black metal band.
Yeah, that's the word I would describe early Lacrimosa as. Like, it's all mostly ambient,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's perfect kind of for like for goth type sad bleak kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I just mostly listened to that music, and I stopped immediately after a week because I remember standing there in the hallway and just feeling like, I feel like a pussy. What happened to me? I used to listen to Megadeth, and then I just like switched like Super Eternus in the player to Megadeth, and I was like, yeah, man, this is the shit.
Hello, me.
In my defense. Yeah, like, hello me, this is real me, like, like, yeah, exactly. I'm not a sad, sick piece of shit, I listen to metal, I'm really strong, everyone thinks I'm cool and I have no friends, like, feeling paranoid, like metal is, blah, blah. Yeah, that's the shit, man. And I felt way better, and I felt like energetic at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and that comes immediately after listening to like Super Eternus, like with like violins going like, and if you know Anna Verney, she, I don't know, they sing like and you're like, oh. So yeah. I was just like wondering if you had like something like that, like a weird experience when you turned into a giant vagina for like a week or something.
I mean, I would say Dead Man is a lot like that, but I realized that, you know, it wasn't an either or thing. I could listen to both, like the heavy stuff and that. Although I will say, part of what stopped me from like really actually listening to The Cure and stuff until later was I did still have some of that like teenage metalhead bullshit where they were like, oh, if it's not heavy, what's the point? Like, ugh, God.
In my case, it was mostly like, if it doesn't have a guitar solo, it's bullshit. That's like my environment. Hey, it's totally right. Absolutely, 100%. That's why Saint Anger is a terrible album by Metallica. Not because it's badly written or anything. It has no solos, man. As if that was the problem. So, yeah. But I wanted to ask something else though.
Mm-hmm.
See, in my case, the edginess kind of stopped quickly because I didn't have any real reason to be like edgy and like sad and like, ugh, I'm fucking life, man. Like, I was like in some shit, but I didn't know that at the time. It was like environment that I couldn't appreciate or understand because I was just a kid. It was kind of like okay, honestly. So all my troubles seem so far away, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I didn't have any reasons. That's why it stopped kind of being the case, and I went back to jolly metal. even though that's kind of the goth part too, because it made me like, oh yeah, man, fucking darkness envelops me. What? What about the darkness that envelops you? Like, sounded like also sweet and familiar to you as a child. I want to know.
What?
Exactly. Yeah, I was expecting that. Like, what made you to get into like the darker music?
Told you.
I hate
Alice Cooper on the Muppet Show.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's what, like, you see that and you think, oh, like, that's cool, right? But have you ever thought about it? What about the darkness? That sounds like attractive. Because think about it, a lot of teenagers, like every teenager has angst, right? That's a thing, but not every teenager ends up having like a edgy moment, you know? So why? Why did you become an edgelord and me too?
I think it might be just because of the way maybe I was raised and just my personality, like, did make me a little bit of an outsider. I mean, looking at it now, I had way too many fucking friends to complain about, you know, being a total loner. But I was still, like, in more of the outside group, so I think it just kind of speaks to...
I don't have 800 friends on Facebook.
Yeah, I only have 400. I don't know how many I have, but I don't have that many. I have less than you. I've read more books than I have friends.
In a way, that's commendable. If you think about it, maybe? I don't know. But, yeah, in my case, it was just a thing that looked really cool. It's like Shadow the Hedgehog, you know? Like, when you're a teen, something like Shadow the Hedgehog is cool. Yeah, something like Shadow the Hedgehog is cool, and, actually, I didn't like Shadow the Hedgehog, like, as a hedgehog. I never had, like, a Sonic fan thing, but I did, at one point, for, like, a couple days, use Shadow the Hedgehog as a user picture in a forum. Now, the backstory for that is, it was exactly... Remember when Shadow the Hedgehog got first... got his video game, like, it was coming out.
Yeah.
Like, the one with the guns and the motorcycles and shit. Okay, so... the promotional website for that game had it had music in it, and the music was like, I don't remember what it was even like. I can't like sing it. There's like zero memory in my head, but it was like, it's probably like cock rock, like it always is with Sonic. But like, I just think it, like, my memory. See, I was really impressed by Breaking Benjamin. Do you know Breaking Benjamin?
Yeah. They had that one song everybody loved, and the singer always sounds like he has a marble under his tongue when he's singing.
See, I don't remember Breaking Benjamin. I just remember that there was one song that I know, and I don't know if that's the one you're thinking of, but the one song I liked a lot, that everybody liked because I liked it, because I was the guy who showed everybody the metal musics. Like, I was the guy responsible for, like, a couple kids in my class listening to In Flames. Which I guess is a good thing. Yeah, no one listens to metal in my, like, class at all. But I bring something and I play it, and people are like, oh, that actually sounds kind of cool. Because a lot of people in my class weren't shitheads, weirdly enough. Not that I would admit that I was a shithead. But,
was it so cold?
That sounds like it. That sounds like it. See, I don't even remember what it sounds like, but I think, like, I remember liking it a lot, and I think that's the kind of thing that Sonic promotional Shadow the Hedgehog song sounded like. And I really liked it. And I was like, oh yeah, this is cool, this sounds amazing. Sonic, whoever this guy is awesome. I'm gonna put him on my user picture. Of course, I was not aware that there is, like, a Sonic fandom, and I don't know if it was at that time. It's quite a while ago, but I guess judging by the fact that they had like a Shadow the Hedgehog game, probably safe to assume there was like a weird Sonic fandom.
Yeah.
But I was not a part of that. I never cared much for the anthropomorphic speedy animals. I just thought Shadow was fucking bitchin' because he had a cool song that sounded probably like Breaking Benjamin or something. Which I need to listen to now because I have zero memory of what it even sounds like.
Just look up the song that everybody knew. Which is called
So
So Cold.
Cold, right?
Yep.
Because I think that's the one. Another band that I remember liking.
Oh, I just remembered another band from my goth days because I had the
Ladies and gentlemen, there it is, live stream death.
Okay. Stop it now. Fucking Evanescence.
Oh,
I was
yes!
playing them, of course. And I had the obligatory giant crush on Amy Lee.
Well, everybody did.
Yeah.
I think she's hot?
Yeah.
Was she hot?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I think that she's hot, but then I see that MySpace-style cover for the album, and I was like, well, if it's MySpace-style photo, you can't really tell.
I have a poster of her that's still in the room where I grew up. That's like her from the front and like not the MySpace
then I just made an observation in my head.
Mm-hmm.
From the days of that album, the one that has all the songs, you know, where she has the MySpace face.
Mm-hmm.
Her hair is exactly in the style of the Korn guy. Because he didn't have dreads at one point. He just had, like, fucked up hair. Like, almost anime hair, but it's too fucked up to be,
fucked up
like...
and greasy.
Yeah, it's fucked up on purpose. No, it's fucked up looking like it's not on purpose, as opposed to fucked up on purpose like an anime, right?
Yeah.
But it was, like, all over the place. And that's what it kind of looked like. Except she's hot and a girl, so it's okay. And when it's, like, a dude... singing about how he was beaten by his dad, it's a different situation. But I kind of like it more, man, because with Korn, you know, like when Evanescence is doing the whole like I'm sad and edgy, it's kind of like fake because girls don't really have problems. From the perspective of like, no, let me explain. First of all, I need to explain this to people. If you're listening, I do this thing a lot when I deliberately say a provocative thing and then I explain it and it makes sense, but I purposefully make it like completely like undefendable because that's not what I actually want to say. Anyway, what I'm saying, like from the perspective of like a 12-year-old, girls don't have problems because you're a kid. Nobody likes you. You like listen to weird shit, and that's like a problem, right? And girls are popular. You just have boobs. There, you're popular. Like, everyone just brings you money and gifts and toys and you're great. Like, you can do anything. I don't understand why girls don't have the best life. You can just go home, like, be like, parents, give me video games, and you can just play them. You don't even have to study. You just marry a dude and you're rich forever. And that's the opinion that you have as a kid. So when you listen to Evanescence, a girl singing about being sad, you just, no. This is bullshit. This is not real problems like Megadeth. Like, Metallica knows about real problems. Their bass player died. You know? So, that whole, like, shithead kind of thinking, right? And then you have Korn, and Korn sings about being beat by dad, and he's a pussy. But, you know, you're like, you could argue that he's a pussy, right? But no, like, see, that's the point. He is a pussy. He's not like a Megadeth dude. He can't fight back. He has to take the beating. He's raped violently by his jock of a dad. And that's what makes it sad. That's what makes it edgy. He has to keep on rolling, you know? Yeah. Like, that's what makes it work. That's why Linkin Park is funny, too. You know? Have you ever listened to fucking Linkin Park in a while?
Not in years, no.
Okay, you should check it out and listen specifically for the lyrics because they're so adorable. You know how like we listened to Evanescence some time ago and just checked the lyrics again?
50,
Like what was that line?
50,000 tears I've cried.
Tears I cried. Yeah, it's just like what? That's a line you can write down and not be embarrassed by? No, that's the real tragedy, right?
Yeah.
And like, but Linkin Park has that too. It's a little bit more subtle, but it's still as bad. Like I was listening to my favorite song. It's like from Meteora. It's Don't Stay. And it goes like, sometimes I feel like shitting out myself. And it's the best thing because it's like it like you see, man, it's so deep. It goes between juxtaposition of something like very artsy but also very edgy, emotional, raw feelings. Like it's sometimes something very deep and interesting. Sometimes I just feel like shutting out myself. It's amazing, and the whole song, and the whole lyrics are about how like go away, you came in my life, you fucked it all up, you ruined my feelings, my heart. Go away, leave, don't stay. See, like,
all right.
that's
on a similar note.
Mm-hmm.
I really hate when people call writers wordsmiths.
Oh, I like it. I like it because, well,
you're
depends.
wrong.
Is it ironic? Is it ironic
No.
or is it like?
Nope.
Well, if not, then I guess it's like if it's not ironic, it feels like someone trying to like be very smart about it.
Mm-hmm. I'll send
like someone trying to.
I was just checking out this thing for like distraction-free writing
and
machines,
this, my friends,
and then it said like wordsmiths start your writing streak. When we are our own worst critics, sometimes the first draft never materializes. Stop editing as you go and find your writing flow now. Your story deserves to be told. What if your writing flow is editing as you go? Fuck you. You're all wrong.
I guess. Well, you say that, but let's be honest. I think it would be safe to say that for most people, and this is the key operating word here, I think, most people, not all, for most people, it would be more beneficial to lay out everything in like a raw form, like sketch it out before you edit.
Well, yeah, but you should still.
That would definitely be the case with me. Like
I still lay stuff out, but like I'll do light editing as I go if I catch something. You know?
Well, if you can like see it and you're just like, oh yeah, it's that. I guess. Yeah, but in my case, it's more like I don't know. I like when it comes to ideas, you want to like finish it as fast as possible because then it becomes like a fucking enormous task. At least that's how I feel. I feel like it would be like such a huge pain in the ass to try and do it all. Nice segue of trying to bring it into our next subject, but I'm not going to make it happen. So, edgy music. Yeah. I don't know. I like it. It's just like something. I'm not like ashamed to like admit that sometimes I feel like listening to Korn or something. Except like I'm too smart. Well, it's like a problem. You can't like when you're a teen, it speaks to you because it's stupid and you're stupid and everyone's stupid, right? You actually generally. Yeah, everyone's a stupid. You actually do genuinely think like sometimes I feel like shitting up myself. You know, like 50,000 tears, man. I cry, and you're like, yeah, but it's not like that. I don't. That sounds silly now to me, right? But it's like to me, it's like you know how how old school metal bands like Iron Maiden sing about B-movie like sci-fi and horror shit, and it's tongue-in-cheek. It's not meant to be taken completely seriously, even though like they do make a slight effort to kind of take it seriously, because that's when it becomes fun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't make a B effort be like genuinely fun unless you really kind of try to make it serious. Because if you're like tongue-in-cheek all the way, then you become like fucking like a bad version of Tucker and Dale. And bad, I say. So yeah, so like Iron Maiden sings about aliens from outer space, and Megadeth sings about fucking aliens, and it's great too. See, that's my favorite part about Megadeth, when they're like when they sing about political issues like back in the day, it feels like they're tongue-in-cheek. You know, like now I listen to Dave and he sounds like he's serious, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
the threat is real. Like comes through the border, no one cares anymore. Like, it's just, oh my god, man. Like, no. But back in the day, when he sings that and then immediately sings about like a secret hangar when they're like aliens, like, and you're like, oh. You know, like, it sounds funny. It sounds kind of cool. like United Nations, United Abominations, like, ah, yeah. But when it's serious, they're like, oh, you're not joking. You're not joking at all. It's not good. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of problem.
Speaking of,
Yes, but that's how I feel about listening to edgy music these days.
yeah,
Kind of tongue in cheek. So, what you were saying?
well, apparently I keep forgetting to start the music like when we actually start the podcast.
Do I need to remind you? Because I
Yeah.
assume by now you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I got it started, but we're still half an hour in. Oh man. Anyway,
Yeah, let's trick them. Trick them into thinking that this is a classy podcast. It
Yeah.
doesn't have music.
speaking of edgy music,
Mhm.
when did you, or have you, grown out of that period in your life where you keep trying to impress people with the super cool edgy music you listen to?
What are you talking about, man? I'm still doing that.
Yeah, that's why I amended it to, or have you?
Exactly. Well, you see, it never stopped for me because, well, I mean, it's embarrassing to say, right? Because you don't want to say like, yes, I'm still an idiot. But
Yep, I'm
honestly,
still a total jackass.
still a fucking jackass, yeah. But you see, to me, listening to metal was not like, oh, look at me, I'm so dark and mysterious, suck my dick, because I'm cool, you see, because I listen to that music. It was more like, oh, the music that I listen to is better than yours, because it cares about the art, right? So, like, you understand, right? It's not so much that it's edgy and dark, because, like, how can I impress girls with that? Girls run away from that, right? It was more like an intellectual superior. It's more like I'm very smart, you know?
Mhm.
Like, I am so great, I'm so superior in intellect that I listen to true awesome music, such as Evanescence. The intellectual powerhouse of music, Evanescence. But see, at one point I was like, that's not really smart, you know? Like, I was listening to, like, I remember listening to specifically Soulfly. It was Soulfly,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is kind of fun, but I'm really feeling that this is stupid. And I can't bring myself to, like, really say that I am better, intellectually speaking, for
Mhm.
listening to this. Because, yes, it's not like the pop musics that I hate, you know? But it's just different, but it's also kind of dumb. And, you know, And I really don't feel like admitting that it's a taste thing, and there are people who listen to hip hop or something. Oh, because see, this is still the shithead situation. You can't admit that hip hop or rap is okay. You just gotta go like no, it's shit. It's like a meme. It's like a Russian metalhead shithead meme that hip hop and rap is shit. Literally, it's shit. And I mean literally, literally shit. Like the South Park joke from that one episode. Because it was so drilled into our heads. But you can't admit that it's just a taste thing. You have to like explain how it's worse, and usually you go with the intellectual argument, right? But then I listened to like Soulfly, and I don't remember what song it was, but it was definitely a Soulfly album, and it was like really dumb. And this was also the time when I was listening more towards the prog gear and more experimental stuff. It was about the time when I was about to discover Unexpected and like something like Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum, like the Dillinger Escape Plan. You know, that stuff kind of started like getting
Dillinger
into my.
Escape Plan are retiring.
Are they finishing their new album or something?
I think they're finishing an album and then they're calling it quits.
Oh, that's good. Okay. I mean, I think they said everything they have to say, so unless they have something new to say.
And if they do have something new to say, they'll probably just get back together and make more music.
Yeah. They're a great band. Check them out. We, the culture, like fucking establishment, are recommending you to check out Dillinger Escape Plan.
We're the cultural establishment?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Yeah, but see, as that music started getting into my eyeballs, and I was starting to get into music, period, and I mean, like, kind of like started caring about the theory part of it and everything, and I was learning music on my own, like, free time. You know, like, I was going through, like, the musician part of my childhood, like, playing guitars and learning solos and writing songs, and at that point, as I was getting into it, stuff like Soulfly became like less intellectual to me.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm sticking to Soulfly. Like a lot of music applies to that. Like I never could get into Ramones or something. To this day, I still think Ramones is bullshit, and everybody who likes it has terrible taste. I'm being facetious, but I never could get into it. To me, it's too dumb. It's too dumb to me. As most punk music, like in its original form, is, you know.
Yeah.
But and I don't mean that in a bad way, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean that was the whole point of it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like black metal. So I was that's the point when I was getting into like the whole intellectual part of the music, and I was getting into like more experimental music, and I was discovering how really where it's at is classical music, because those guys discovered all this fancy bullshit like way before everybody else. You know? So I was getting into classical music because that's where the fucking complicated shit is. And that's where the intellectual circle jerk kind of like upgraded itself. And it wasn't like so much like, oh, listen to fucking edgy Evanescence, I'm better than you. And it's more like, you know, like, oh, I'm better than you because I listen to Beethoven. And then it became like, oh, I'm better to you because I'm listening to fucking Stockhausen. You don't even know who that is. If you would listen to it, you would think it's not music because you're stupid. See, and yeah, and I don't do it like now, but every time when I get an opportunity to talk about classical music, I can't stop feeling smug. So I guess I'm not over it. So.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, I am still a shade.
Oh boy.
Which is what we were trying to prove in the first place.
Yeah.
Did you get out of the?
Yeah, I think if not all the way, I'm mostly grown out of it, because like I'll look back on like crap I've done, especially like when I was really getting into folk metal, and not the dumb bullshit where it's just like a guy with a synthesizer and then everybody dresses up in fur and face paint and makes the same songs just with different band names. Like the more quality stuff where they used actual acoustic folk instruments, or in the case of Ensiferum at least wrote like actually good music because they actually know what they're doing. Anyway, getting off my pedestal. Like I tried to show off with that in fucking what's the big one? There was my English composition class back when I was doing the college and high school thing. Like she would just play a video in the morning that we could upload, that we could share to like a question pool or something, just to like wake us up, and because this was like a 7 a.m. class.
Wake us up.
Yeah.
I didn't interpret it the way you meant it. I meant like, wake up, man.
Sheeple.
Yeah.
Anyway,
sheeple.
like, and I put so many like Elvady vids in there, and even at UNLV for a little bit, like I'd be like, oh, you should totally play this, blah 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 blah, and like, yeah, it's interesting that they found a really really effective and musical way to combine two, on the surface, very different genres into one cool thing. But like, you can't just like be masturbatory about it and shove it in people's faces, you know?
Well, yeah, that's when you start getting over yourself and start understanding that being a human being is kind of important sometimes.
Yeah.
But only sometimes.
And now we should talk about how you're passing on the torch to me.
Yeah, now it brings us to the subject. That's the big subject. See, I'm doing Inktober. I mentioned before. In fact, I'm actually doing it right now. I'm finishing up in Inktober while we're recording because that's something to do. And Inktober for me, because everyone decides what their own Inktober is, I decided to go daily sketch drawing, some kind of drawing I have to do daily. And it's a big, like, you know, challenge of discipline and thinking and shit. And that was the point for me, because it's like a self-imposed challenge more than like a flash mob participation, because I'm not like getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
It's more like just here's an excuse for me to participate in this weird challenge that I put myself through and see if I learn anything. And that sounds very winky, but yeah, Inktober is getting to a close as the October month is almost done. It's 29th currently, according to, well, it was 28th,
because we
but now
hit
it's
midnight.
29th. Oh fuck. And it's exactly. It's gonna end, and I'm gonna stop doing the daily drawings, and because first I always work on like in Photoshop with digital painting, and I never like draw with pencil. Then or inks, especially like pens or something. It was like a challenge for me, like on that end too. So I'm almost done with it. I didn't skip a day. I don't plan on. I am gonna scan every single drawing or do something, I guess, and like make a little cute album. Yes, and like show it at people's faces and tell them I'm great.
On the street.
Oh yeah.
You can, because you're still in Vegas, you can be like those guys that walk around on the strip and try and like get you to give them a donation to get their mix CD.
Oh, dude, there's like a very clever thing in Mr. Robot where a dude tries to like sell people a CD, like his mixtape, yo.
Yep.
You know, like, oh, you got a girlfriend, like, give it to her, she'll like it, I promise, man. Like, and that mixtape CD turns out to be the way they hack a computer.
Like your
but yeah, because the guy, yeah, it's basically like a Trojan, but like in a very clever way, I think, because they put a virus on the CD, yo. And why would you do that? This is such a clever way. Anyway, but because I decided, like, I never wanted to do Inktober in the first place because it's a big commitment. I'm very aware. Like, there's a lot of people who like say they will do it and like, yeah, it's there,
And then they do one.
and then when it, yeah, they do one or two, and then when it actually gets to the point where your like commitment gets tested, because it's not tested when it's like, let's do it 1 day or 2 days. Yeah, it's fun, daily time, yeah. But then when something like happens, you work for a whole day and you come back home and you're tired. You have like 20 minutes, and that's when you gotta draw, and you're like, oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
And when if you don't do it, but tell yourself like, okay, I'll catch up tomorrow. Tomorrow, now it's 2 drawings, and you're still not feeling it. Holy shit, it gets worse. So.
Yep.
Yeah, immediately it becomes like a huge undertaking, and you just puss out, you quit, because suddenly it becomes not such a, like, you know, small little thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you do the daily thing, if you're like one of the person who just does one drawing or something for Inktober, that's fine. It's a different kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a celebration of the medium, rather like how it's supposed to, rather than like the daily challenge thing. But it's more like masturbatory artist gym kind of mentality. That's a whole other subject in itself. But yeah, in my case, I was just like, you know, I felt it, and I knew about it because I'm smart, and I thought about it in advance, and I knew it's gonna become that. So for a while, for like a couple of years before, when I had the chance to join in on Inktober, I didn't, because I was like, it's gonna be that. I'm not gonna feel like it.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with this shit. And now I finally was like, do I feel like challenging myself and doing it this month?
No.
Yeah, so I felt, I was like on the brink of like, do I do it? Do I not? And I was like kind of like feeling like I probably should, just, you know, for the hell of it. And then you chimed in and said, well, hey man, if you do, I will do my own writer version of Inktober, which is NaNoWriMo, that we briefly mentioned last time in November, which is the next month.
We bitched about that for like half an hour.
Well, I mostly laughed about it, yeah. But we're about to exceed the bitchiness this time, because as the Inktober is drawing to a close and I'm succeeding and I have a lot to say about the experience, you're getting close to November and you are gonna have to do basically that with writing. You will have to write daily to keep up the...
Let me grab my calculator.
Yeah, you open that up, and while I say this, basically, like, we bitched a lot about NaNoWriMo, but it's mostly like an excuse for a self-imposed challenge for you, like Inktober is for me.
How many days does November have? 30?
30, yeah. Like, Inktober had 31, so you owe me 1 more day. Send me donuts, man. Send me a couple donuts. Yeah, so, Inktober, is like an artist version of NaNoWriMo, basically.
Okay.
You feeling the pressure yet?
Well, you see, if I round up, I need to write about 1,700 words a day.
Oh my god. 1,700?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, okay. I for some reason I imagined 17,000.
Oh god, fuck no.
That's not. Yeah.
That's like,
what are you, like Stephen King plus?
That'd be like 150 pages.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't be 150. That'd be like 90, but still.
Like, yeah, 150 is reasonable. It's just like because it's not daily. It's more like you need this amount of writing done, and we both know that you're not gonna make that if you just do it like.
So for those that don't know, NaNoWriMo, the goal is to have a 50,000 word count reached by the end of the month. I think it's 50,000. Let me double check real quick.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what I heard. That's what I remember.
There we go. See, the problem is I logged in, so it didn't take me to the actual front page anymore. Yeah, 50,000. which is about a 200-page book. The goal is to have that written by the end of the month. And I mean, in the same vein as getting Steam achievements, you will get little badges to be a superficial motivator for little shitheads. But
yeah, like we said, it's not important what it actually is. The most important thing is that you're gonna do it.
Yeah. So basically, if I want to not have a day where I'm scrambling to catch up or a giant rush towards the end, I do need to write about 1,700 words a day. Which is what?
Just think about this. If you have to skip one day,
20 pages a day.
That doesn't sound too bad, right? But think about this. If you have to skip one day, skip one day, suddenly, to catch up, the next day you have to do 3,400 pages. 3,400 words. Yeah. So, now that doesn't sound fun at all.
No.
That, like, immediately sounds way worse than
especially because, like, for context, for anyone who's listening who doesn't know, I'm also a musician, getting my master's degree right now. And in November, we've got this massive concert coming up with a giant, intricate John Corigliano piece. That's going to take up a huge chunk of my time and effort. And that would be fine if, like, this was in the beginning of November when we were going to perform. But the concert's not until the 19th. So that's over halfway through. So for over half of November, I'm going to be pretty fucking wiped.
Yeah, and the whole point is that no matter what, you gotta do it, right? So this is the one time to turn on the shit hat, the whole, like, I'm a man, I gotta do it thing. Because the moment you become weak, you're gonna, like, fuck it up. You gotta fucking keep up the whole, like, attitude of, like, no matter what, kind of, like, shit, power, break house, bah! Attitude towards it.
I mean,
don't,
I will say, I do have, I think, a pretty decent advantage over actually achieving that than just the little newbies who get super excited about writing a book and they haven't ever done anything before. Like, I'm starting to get a pretty decent, like, portfolio of writing work, and I've spent a while submitting stories to magazines, and I have one published and about 6 that I'm waiting for a reply on. Like, so I'm not completely new to this. I would say I'm steadily on track to being semi-pro. So
some might argue that you already are.
That I'm already semi-pro. I'm gonna say I'm not yet, just because I haven't had a paid publication yet.
You know, personal goals and all that.
Yeah. I would count myself as semi-pro if I've had some paid publications, and I'll count myself as pro when every publication I'm getting is paid, and it's how I'm paying my rent aside from recording and writing music.
I don't think paying your rent like 100% with writing is gonna be happening soon.
No.
And not because you, but because I just don't think that's how the industry is these days.
It depends.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, feel free to.
If I managed, let's say I managed to consistently get stories placed in bigger magazines like Fantasy and Sci-Fi, Asimov's, Clark's World, Aries, Glimmer Train, you know, Paris Review, all that. Especially things like the Paris Review and New Yorker. But those would be about a minimum $500 per story, up to even a few thousand if it was like, I think the New Yorker pays like 25 to 75 cents per word or something crazy like that. Which, you know, if I had just a 1,000 word flash fiction thing, that'd be a fucking substantial amount of money. But the point I'm getting is
You still gotta write a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, a short story a week, I think, is pretty doable. Send it out. Then if each one of those, if my portfolio was to the point where things are getting published pretty easily, and I was consistently getting a story bought every week or two, then I would be able to pay rent with that. I'm not gonna bank on it because I'm not crazy right now, but
Yeah, it still sounds like a difficult thing to achieve.
Yeah, but I would say I'm steadily on the track, and it should be difficult. Yeah, otherwise you get pond scum getting in.
We're elitists when it comes to art.
I'm not an elitist. It's just you have to face the fact that like people who are just barely starting out or who don't know anything actually about the way the craft works, and this is in any art form, like there needs to be some sort of a ringer that people get put through to see who's actually got what it takes, you know?
Yeah. And not that it means like that you can't do it if you fail. It just there's like a quality control.
Should fail.
Yeah, you should.
That's
fail.
the ringer is who keeps trying, you know?
Yeah, that's what it's for. It's not for you to quit. It's for you to understand that you're not good enough and learn to be better.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm not saying like it's like for you like it's a thing to separate the plebs from the other people, like the artists, the true artists. There is no like talent bullshit. Like that just means you're not good enough. That means you have to go practice more.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also it gets the people out who maybe are really good and just generally have a little bit of a natural affiliation for whatever they're trying at, but just don't have that motivation or drive to keep trying despite
they don't have the
rejections.
professional ethic.
Yeah. Because you can still be good.
Too.
You can be really fucking good, but if you're lazy and don't have the motivation, like, so fucking what?
Yeah. Like, people like to fantasize and talk about the true artist. Like, oh, but what about that guy who's, like, really good because he's just that good? I mean, that's cool and all, but if you're not a professional, we're not talking about, like, historical figures that might have changed something. We're talking about doing that in the now and actually paying rent with that. Mm-hmm. That requires to be a professional. And to be a professional, you have to be a professional. Meaning you have a professional work ethic. Yeah. And if you don't have that, you can't be one.
Mm-hmm. Natural talent only gets you so far. And if you rely on natural talent, there will eventually come a time when that person who did not have that natural talent, or at least not as much as you, will surpass you unless you put in as much effort as they do.
Yeah, for example, Da Vinci actually was very unsuccessful for quite a while. Historically, he had his first full commission when he was 30-something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not for the lack of talent. It's because his professional work ethic was not there.
Yeah.
He just never got to it. He matured later. And, in the end, he did end up being a professional by the later years and a historically important artist and everything else. Scientist, musician, whatever. But not until he already was doing important works at the time that historians like to talk about. But he was not a professional artist paying bills efficiently yet because he was not a professional. So, but that's not important in the end. You might argue, right? But from his standpoint, from his perspective at the time, it was, and that's what we're talking about right now. So,
yeah. Anyway, point is, now I get to really be put through the ringer of daily work ethic,
daily grind,
and it has to be actually daily. Like when you're an actual pro writer, you can't afford to take 1 or 2 days off for the weekend. But you know, this is good practice for like when you are in the publishing process for a novel and you've got to push to meet that deadline for the final rewrite and stuff like that. Like, there will just be times where you don't get to have that weekend off. So,
Yeah. See, this is something I don't know if it needs to be said, because if all right, this is specifically for someone who's new. Okay, like you're really really new and you're aspiring. You're like, I want to be an artist. Maybe you don't sound like that, but if you're really new to this, this is obvious to us, but you know, I guess not to everybody.
Well,
I guess they take.
I think part of the problem is things become obvious to people like us, and then like the newbies are lost. Like how when I sent that email to both Neil Gaiman and then later to the lovely Mr. R.A. Salvatore, who did actually, he was super sweet and actually responded back to me and kind of set me on the right path, but without like getting involved too much. But I'm forever gonna be in his debt just for that, for saving me so much time by pointing me in the right direction. So
I guess, yeah.
There we go.
But what I wanted to say, the thing that needs to be said, and this is specifically for a very, very beginner who wants to be an artist professionally, it's a job. It's work. It's real work. And no, like, there is no fucking inspiration or anything. Unfortunately, this is the reality. A lot of people like to talk about, like, if you feel like burnt out or like you have an art block, like, that's fine. Everyone experiences it. Blah blah. Yes, it's true. It's fine. Everyone experiences it. But does it ever happen to you when you go to work and you don't feel like working? Yes. And guess what you do then? You still work because this is your paycheck.
Yeah.
Because that's how you work in like a work environment. Same with art. And if you want it to be your job, right? If you want to be professional about it, to think about how many hours you do daily a week for work. Like, let's say you work full time, right? 45 hours is normally full time, right?
We're assuming they actually do have a job. You got to remember, a lot of these guys are going to be early high school and middle school. But anyway,
even if they don't have a job, they have an idea of what a job is, right? They see their parents
or if
having
you
a
are
job, right?
If you are still in grade school, like, sometimes, even if you really like school, sometimes you just really don't feel like going, but you have to go anyway.
Yeah, I suppose. If
it's the same kind of thing.
If you're working full time normally, you have about 45 hours of work weekly, right? That's full time. That's what we call full time.
And bare minimum
if
to
you're an
live,
artist,
I would say, bare minimum to live, no matter what, is gonna at least be 30 hours.
Yeah, you need at least 30 hours to most places to kind of survive of work, you know, like depending on how much money you get hourly. And that's another like thing to talk about, like the price, but that comes later. You need money to survive. So you need to put in the hours of work, right? And it doesn't matter if you get paid, because you, like, as with a lot of things, when you try to make your job happen, you just start doing it and then you start getting paid for it somehow. Someone starts to pay you for what you're already doing, because then you're already doing it, so they know you do it. It's kind of stupid, but, you know, you can't just, like, start saying, like, pay me, I won't draw for anybody until you pay me, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to commission somebody. Like, you have to get a commission from somebody, and in most cases, it's going to start with you. You're commissioning yourself. You're paying yourself with nothing. But that work goes into your portfolio folder. So what I'm saying is, if you're starting out, you need to put in as much time if you want to be professional, or at least get ready to put in that amount of time as a professional would. People in the industry work full-time a lot of the times. Like, if you're in a studio or something working on games, a lot of the times, especially in AAAs, like all those games were like so much like Deus Exes and if you like Call of Duty or something, a lot of studios end up doing like a lot of crunch times and shit. That is like a lot of people will complain about that because it's not okay, because people don't see their families for a while, and it's a problem. But that's the reality. And those people are professionals. Yeah, those people are professionals, and they put in like crazy amount of hours into daily work, art and stuff, you know. So you need to be able to do that. If you only like do art for like a couple days in a week, and it's like during the evenings when you feel like it, that's not gonna cut it. It's just not enough. That's not even close. So you need more. You need a lot more hours put into it.
And even if you have a day job and you're doing it as a side thing until you can take that leap,
yeah. See, I
you
really
need to at least be doing like, I would say at least a couple hours average a day. Again, average. You'll have some time where you just fucking can't because whatever. But if you average it out, you should be doing about a couple hours a day of work. That way, you can actually get to the point where you can take that leap.
Yeah, I mean, for a while it won't be the time to take a leap, but you still will have to.
That's the other thing. I don't think the people aspiring to be in an arts-related thing realize how much time it's gonna take.
Oh yeah, it takes. I will put this out, and this is for visual art. On average, it takes from 3 to 6 years to get technically proficient to the point where you are able to produce work that people will pay for. 3 to 6 years. Then it takes about, unless we're talking about studio work, it takes about from like 1 to up to 4, like about from 1 to 4 years after that to establish yourself as like a freelancing artist. Up to 4 years. Imagine that. You take if you're like particularly slow when it comes to, and I don't mean that in a bad way. If it just like takes you a while, which is fine, and you're like 6 years, it takes you to get to the point where you paint or draw or something, to the point where it's like worth paying for. Like proficiently, your skill is high. It's a pro level. And then, on top of that, it takes extra 4 years for you to find clients. If you're not, like, very social, if you're not very savvy, if it takes you a while to get, like, in an environment where you can talk to people and get known around, like, it'll start happening just on the basis that you have professional work.
Yeah.
Because that's what the first 6 years, there will be already some kind of traction. But how fast it is depends on you and your effort of just business savviness, and you trying to establish. Yeah,
that's for visual,
and that's on top
art.
of you.
And then writing, it's not quite the same. One slight advantage, I would say, to writing, if you aren't a particularly social person, is for the most part, you will just be submitting to magazines and publishers, and that will be your networking. Aside from you should at least go to some like writers conferences type stuff to network with other people, things like Wordstock where they're actually legit and you can meet agents and give them a log line and like do stuff that's actually useful to you. Don't go to like local hobbyist writing groups where they write a poem a week and give each other critiques. Like, that's a waste of your time. But I'm getting off on a tangent. Even with writing, where you don't have to have as much of that overt networking aspect, the average to start creating just a profit, not a livable profit, just a profit, is on average 5 years from when you first start submitting work to when you start making actual a little bit of extra money.
Books.
And then, I mean, things start getting easier from there, but it's still gonna be probably at least another couple years before you can start taking that plunge to write full-time. And not to mention, even if, let's say you do get a book published, You might get a pretty decent advance if it's your first actual full book, and you'll still be making additional income from short stories you send in, which is another thing. Don't rely on only being a novelist unless you're interested in starving to death. You've got to make shorter work to send into magazines because books take a long time, and advances only go so far. And what if you write a book that it gets published and you get a $200,000 advance? That's actually a really, really good, decent advance. Let's say you get a $50,000 advance.
That's more realistic, I think.
I think that's more realistic for like a first book. It's going to be about a year and a half before your book is published in hardcover, and you'll probably get a pretty decent royalty. I think standard is about 30% or something like that, which still seems small to me, but I mean, they have overhead costs. They have to pay their staff and everything. And then the agent also gets a little bit of a cut. And then if your hardcover sells enough, they'll start making trade paperbacks. And then if the trade paperback sells enough, they'll make a mass market paperback. And it always seemed weird to me because the mass market paperbacks sell more because they're cheaper.
Why don't you
$5 to $10 for a book versus like $30 to $50 for a hardcover. Obviously that's going to sell more, but getting off of that point, like, you have a $50,000 advance from that, you shouldn't assume it's going to sell. It would be nice if it does, but you won't know for sure, especially if you're new into the book world. So if you wrote no stories and you just started writing another book, let's say it took you, and you weren't doing NaNoWriMo, let's say it took you about 5 months to write that book. Sounds about normal, 5 months to a year. And then it'd take another year or so to find another publisher for that one, unless your first publisher liked you a whole lot, and you'd get another advance. But you see, the issue comes in, like, you're still going to get another really small advance. Not really small. $50,000 is a lot. But, like, when you space it out over that amount of time, like, you're going to have huge gaps that you need to fill in with income. So just keep writing short stories. And then you can collect the short stories into a collection. Sorry. Oh god. You can make a short story collection and then get another advance off of that and everything. Like what I'm getting at is just shorter work is going to be the basis for your whole life if you want to be a writer. Books are great, but the more surefire way of paying your bills is always going to be that shorter stuff that you can send to magazines. Oh, Anton's gone. No wonder I was confused. Let's see what happened to him. Because I'm not good at entertaining people solo. Anyway, let's try this again. Well, if you are listening, I hope you've enjoyed so far. We will have Anton back in a second. If you do like us, it would be nice if you subscribed. You don't have to. Feel free to give our other episodes a listen. If that's what interests you, then cool. And if not, no hard feelings. Here comes Anton. Hello.
Yep. Alright.
Oh, you sound like shit.
What about now? Do I
Oh,
sound
there
better
we go.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. Small technical difficulties.
Yep.
We're still on?
I started talking about writer's life for like minutes, and you were gone.
That's
I thought,
good. That's
like,
good.
I thought you were just being cold and silent.
No, it's good. It's good that you kept it going. But I'm sure you said important things that were very real.
Well,
and
I was
true.
talking about how writing a book takes forever, and then the advances, like, you're gonna have huge gaps that you need to fill in. So if you want to be a writer, your whole life's gonna be based around short fiction that you send out.
Yeah, if you ever played like management games, that's a weird comparison, I guess. But if you ever played like anything like that, notice how the balancing and managing is like an important aspect of keeping something afloat, and it's like you never expect something to go until it happens. So that's what this is about. Like a lot of your expenses, like, see, it's the same with like freelancing. You get like one thing done, right, and you get paid. Like if you're like a very professional dude, you can get like something like thousands of dollars per illustration, like one or two easily. But the problem with that is you think that's a lot of money, but it's not meant for you to be used like just then. That's like for you to spread.
Well, and you should be putting away about a quarter to a half of it every time you get a very large commission like that to set aside, A, for business expenses, and B, for emergencies, because life is messy.
Oh yeah, and not to mention, this is this is more of like, I guess, like a US issue, but if you're a freelancer in US, there's a lot of shit you're not prepared for, man. Nobody's prepared for that kind of shit with taxes and shit. Stuff gets really complicated and really shady really fast. So all your income should be used.
Oh, speaking of, one thing I learned from the Writer's Market book, which if you're going to be a writer, buy a copy of last year's Writer's Market. Libraries are great for research, especially if they have back issues of lit mags. But the Writer's copy is one you're going to want to buy because you're going to want to write in it and just tear it to shreds in general. But
like notes.
But one thing I learned is, in the US at least, if you put yourself down as self-employed as some sort of freelance artist, like if I wanted to put self-employed as professional writer, I would need to be making at least half of my income off of just writing. And if I don't meet that requirement, then I'm not allowed to mark myself as self-employed for, I think it's something crazy like 3 years. So don't get too hasty about that.
What do you mean 3 years? 3 years of what?
3 tax years. Like, I'm not allowed to declare myself as self-employed and get whatever tax rate I'm supposed to get for that income.
Like, you need to wait 3 years before you can call yourself self-employed, even if you're doing it? Unless you're doing half.
Let me explain it. So if you mark yourself as self-employed and you're not making at least half of your income off of whatever that thing is, then they'll count that as wrongfully declaring yourself as self-employed, and you won't be able to do that again for 3 years. So you're basically, what I'm getting at is you're going to want to make sure you actually meet the requirements.
Okay.
If you're in the US. I mean, obviously other countries have different standards.
Yeah.
So just look into your own individual tax codes, whatever they are. You don't want to fuck something up by messing that up and having a headache
when you
over
become
that.
self-employed, when you become self-employed, it gets into like that kind of like adult problem shit, as we like to call it, adult issues. Anyway, now that we're done talking about that, how excited are you for NaNoWriMo and writing every day, no matter what?
If I'm being honest, not much.
What do you think you'll learn by the time? Do you think you'll learn anything? Because I can definitely talk about what I learned.
I mean, I think it's too
From
early
your
to say.
experience.
I can assume I'll learn something, but well, I
About
mean,
yourself.
if I make it, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna allow
What
myself
do
to
you
be
mean if you
cocky and
make it?
assume that I will.
You have
This-
to. You have no
yeah.
choice.
This will be the first novel that I've actually finished because as close as I am done to Standing Stone, I think, I haven't finished it. And how many words do I have in Standing Stone? I only have 28,000 in Standing Stone right now.
Standing Stone is Ben's current big novel kind of project.
Yeah, it's
that he-
taken a hiatus for a while, but which I know where I want it to end. Like I know what situation I want to put the character in, and then let them work it out. I just need to actually crap it out. But first, I'm gonna finish this cool story that will actually probably get me money because I'm definitely closer to.
You already have an idea what to go for NaNoWriMo?
Yeah, I have a general premise.
Do you feel like sharing it?
No, they'll be able to read it when it's published.
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to do that thing where you talk about it too much and then like, because you've read that psychology study where read the abstract where talking about something fires the same reward centers in your brain as if you had actually finished it.
Yes.
I don't want to overload on that. So.
Did you know that if there is such a thing as a pain of rejection, and it's actually real? Like, you actually have brain parts of you light up that, like, actually pain when you feel rejected, and it's completely... Yeah, it's completely, like, involuntary. It has nothing to do with context or anything. No matter what. Like, even if you're, like, black and clan members are rejecting you, you have that.
Huh.
You know? Yeah, apparently that's the case. I don't know if it's 100% true, but there were, I've read that there were studies, and I've heard in podcasts that that's the case. So that's interesting. Now that's something.
Oh man!
But here's something.
And you know what happens right after NaNoWriMo?
What?
I'm gonna work on over the Christmas break recording. Hopefully 2 more songs with Nick. That's alright. It's good work. It's what I actually want to do, so.
Yeah. Why would you be not excited about that?
Good point.
Just because you're like, oh, I want one holiday.
A little bit, but I mean, 2 songs.
Here's a sad question. Do you ever feel like, and this is like sad, depressing question, like, and you have to be really honest, because otherwise I'll feel bad about myself if I don't hear the answer I want to hear. Do you ever feel like, yeah, all this art still want just...
You're gonna want to repeat what you just said because it went, all this art.
All right, if you could, you would totally not do anything ever.
I mean,
at least not like to this like insane professional level. You would just loaf around most of the time.
I think everyone has that little lizard brain in them that's like, man, if I could just get along by sitting in bed all day.
Yeah.
If I could get paid to sleep, I totally would. Like, you know?
Yeah. Paid to sleep.
Speaking of, I found out there was a NASA study where it was for a sleep study, and they were paying people like $7,000 each to, like, sleep.
Aww,
You had to live in,
man.
it was either Texas or Oklahoma or something, or Florida or something like that.
Where was I? Not that I could have done it probably, but it's, man, like it's
Still.
now that's a dream job.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it was short. Obviously it was only short term because it was just a little sleep study. I'm assuming
yeah.
for the astronauts up on the International Space Station. But still, $7,000.
For sleeping.
Yeah.
What if that's when you get insomnia?
Oh god. Well, I mean, I guess it'd still be useful info for them.
You think? Yeah, I guess. Unless it's like the kind of study when they specifically don't care. Like, oh, this one study is not about that. That would be dark and depressing. Well, you'll be happy to hear that I'm almost done with my Inktober for today.
I was writing the short story I'm working on right now. And I thought my quintet coaching rehearsal thing was at a 2. So and it turns out it was at 1, so I didn't finish a sentence. I was like, oh shit, I should probably get my oboe.
Yeah. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah. I don't know why I was like dead set on the rehearsal being at 2, so I like went and got a leisurely lunch and then just strolled back up to the 4th floor, sat down my bag with my burger and stuff, and started up the laptop. I watched YouTube for like half an hour before I started working, and then like I was blazing along, and our flute player like crouched down next to me and was like, and I looked at him and I was like, why are you here? Isn't rehearsal at 2? And he went, is it at 2? I thought it was at 1. And then I realized I was wrong.
Well, he could have never gotten there, I guess.
Eh.
What if you'd never learned that?
Well, I think right now we're all just kind of at a point where we go by muscle memory of like where to be for our things, you know?
Yeah. I kind of love that, you know?
Yeah.
I love the feeling of not really thinking about it and just doing it when it's a habit. But when it's a good habit, I mean...
Yeah.
If it's drugs, that's a bad habit.
You need to evaluate your life.
Yeah, I probably don't want to do that, but you know. Oh, well. And I'm officially done with Inktober for this one.
Nice.
So, yeah. Now I can just sign it and finish, and I can actually talk like a normal person.
Alright.
What is...
Well, the thing is, don't you have work tomorrow? Or, I guess, today?
I do.
At what time?
I do, but I don't care. Early in the morning.
Oh, boy.
See...
Well, we've also been talking for half an hour. Or, an hour and a half.
That's good. We could stop soon, I guess. Yeah. Which should we? Do you think we should right now?
Yeah. I mean, this one wasn't as focused as the other ones, but that's fine.
I think we said some important things.
Yeah.
I think we said some important things. I think we talked at length about what it takes to be an artist. This is useful for somebody who is completely a noob, I guess.
Yeah. And again, because I didn't get pointed in this direction until I messaged
yeah, this is something to
R.A. Salvatore.
For most artists, they don't find like something like a way to become professional artists until someone who is at least aware of it will direct them in the right direction. So
yeah.
For me too, I didn't know a lot until I started like seeing professional artists talk about this shit. Which back in the day, a while ago, was completely impossible. So that's something.
Just to reiterate, if you are a writer and you want to at least get some income off of this,
Mm-hmm.
get a copy of last year's Writers Market for really cheap, and you'll find a really good stepping stone there, and then you'll know what to search for online. It just, that single book opens up a hell of a lot. And then there's another book that has just agents for when you get to that point. There's another book that has where agents can put their listings. A word on agents: if they want you to pay them in order for them to consider you or for them to promote your work, they're full of shit and they're not real agents. So just be wary of that. Because as good as
an exception.
Not well. There used to be, but it's fallen way, way, way out of standard practice to the point where it's a major red flag. But the thing about being an agent is there's no certification, and anyone can pay to put their listing in the whatever the book of agents is called.
Wait for the suckers.
Yeah, but if you just look up what they all have written, send out query letters to multiple agents at a time, because the truth is, if you have enough short stories published, and some of them are actually like paid professional rates, maybe you won in a contest or an award or two, if you're to that point, you'll be able to actually kind of pick and choose an agent. But again, send out letters to multiple people, just kind of take them all into consideration, ask them who they've placed, and maybe not who they've placed, but where they've placed stories and books before, to kind of get their credentials, because that's important too. And if they tell you that they won't consider anything without you paying them, just throw them in your shredder and then dump them into the recycling bin so they can get pulped and turned into a new copy of the Writers Market.
Yes. And if you're a visual artist, this also applies to you. This, not the Writers Market, but whatever you like, that could be your job. You like magic? That's a job. How do you get it? That place has art directors. Every company has art directors. You know what their job is? Looking at artists' portfolios. You could send them yours. I mean, talking about portfolios is like a whole separate subject, and honestly, you should probably listen to a highly respectable professional about it. But generally speaking, you want something in your portfolio that looks already like it's part of their thing. So if you have that, send that portfolio to the art director or whatever you want. Every place has art directors. That's who you talk to. And usually, you can find out how if you Google and stalk. Definitely stalk people. I mean, you know.
That reminds me. Another note on writing. Subscriptions might be out of your range. Like, for every magazine you're considering, like, dumping $30 on a subscription for each of them. It will add up after a while, but look at back issues and any anthologies they've published to test out what kind of stuff they're actually interested in. For example, if you send like a completely literary slice of life, like vanilla thing to like Clark's World or Asimov's, you're wasting everyone's time. So just make sure you actually look into like what the magazine looks for. Look at examples that they have. A lot of them have free examples up on their website now too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like every magazine, every like company, they have like established pattern of what they produce. You want to know about that, so do research.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. We solved the world.
But that being said, at least for writing, don't try to write a story that fits what you think a magazine is looking for. Rather, write a story and find the market for it. Because people will know that you're not quite being honest with what you're interested in if you try to write a story to appeal to a specific magazine or market, for that matter. Like,
well, do you think it's possible if you're like, oh, this magazine loves this kind of shit, I also love this kind of shit, I'm gonna do that? I think that's okay. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it just has to be, as long as you're writing something that you're actually interested in.
Yeah.
Then it's fine.
Yeah. And on that note, I think we should. Stop. Alright, bye everyone.
Oh,
here comes the part when we stop.
Well, except Open Broadcast is a lot less obtuse, so there's a stop streaming thing. So, see you everyone. Whoever was watching, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed. We have links below if you want to check out stuff that we've both done before. So, thanks again. Have a good night.
Bye.